Dr. Matthew Warren, a professor of art history, had always been drawn to obscure pieces of art. So when a small auction house listed an 18th century mezzotint depicting a grand mansion, he couldn't resist. It was an intricate atmospheric print, the mansion looming in the center, surrounded by skeletal trees and wild grass. In the lower corner was a faint, shadowy figure, barely noticeable at first glance. The mezzotint arrived at his office, and Matthew hung it proudly on his wall. But something about the print gnawed at him. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, until one day, after returning from a weekend conference, he noticed the shadowy figure had moved. At first, he convinced himself it was his imagination, a trick of the light. But day by day, the figure continued to shift, edging closer to the mansion in the image. Matthew's curiosity turned into obsession. He began to document the changes with his phone, each new photo revealing more details of the figure. It was now clearly a man, hunched and ragged, his form dark against the fading background of the mezzotint. Every time Matthew looked at it, the figure seemed to be inching closer to the front door of the mansion. His research revealed that the mansion had once belonged to the Gillingham family, cursed by a wrong servant who swore vengeance on his dying breath. The figure in the mezzotint, Matthew realized with dread, matched the description of the very servant who had vowed to return. One evening, Matthew noticed something new. The man in the mezzotint had reached the mansion's door, and the door was now ajar. The next morning, the figure was inside the house, dragging a dark object behind him. By the time the figure appeared at one of the mansion's windows, Matthew's phone buzzed with a message. "Open the door." A cold chill ran down his spine. He glanced at his office door. It was ajar. Heart pounding, Matthew turned back to the mezzotint. The figure was gone. Suddenly, there was a soft knock behind him,